Hey, welcome to the Plain Donuts Podcast. This is your co-host, Steve. This week's episode is going to be a little bit different because we have a special guest. Listen on to hear who it is. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Plain Donuts Podcast. I'm your co-host, Steve.
And I'm your other co-host, Alicia. And Steve, you want to introduce our guest?
Well, this is Sarah Hanisko.
Hanisko.
Hello.
I don't think I've ever said your last name in person before.
It's kind of a weird last name.
Yeah. Sarah, introduce yourself. Talk about yourself and all the things.
Oh my gosh, all the things.
Well, because we can link all that stuff later.
Yeah, so, I'm a Utah native. I've lived here most of my life. I went to Weber State, got my degree there in history and anthropology, went to Syracuse University, got my master's, and then I got a PhD in conflict analysis and resolution from Nova Southeastern University in Florida. Fort Lauderdale,
This is
Florida.
our first doctor
I'm
first guest.
You might be the most educated
You
guest
are
Really?
we ever have. Yeah.
And the only guest.
Well, no, I mean, like, from here on out, like,
yeah,
we may
that's
never have
true.
someone this educated.
But you might. You never know.
Well,
You're-
I mean, even Bill Nye's not. Like, even if we had somebody like that, I guess maybe,
I don't know. Bill Nye is probably smarter than me. He's pretty smart.
Yeah, but Bill Nye's appeal is because he's Bill Nye and not because he's a
He's
smart
the science
person.
guy.
Yeah.
He's not Dr. Bill Nye.
That's true.
The science guy.
That's true.
Is he not a doctor? He doesn't have a
I don't know.
I don't
PhD?
think he has a degree. Well, I'm sure he has a bachelor's, right?
He's got to have something,
He's got
right?
some sort of
Yeah.
education.
He's not like Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, he is actually a doctor.
Yes.
And fun fact, I saw Neil deGrasse Tyson in New York City at the Natural History Museum when they were dedicating the new space exhibit.
Was he
He
there
was
to-
there to do lectures and stuff. And
Oh.
I met him, which was really cool.
Like, you just ran into him, or
he
like?
kind of was just walking around,
That's awesome.
So he's a pretty cool guy.
It's so funny because, like, he has a real job
Yeah.
where he has to do stuff, and, like,
He's an actual astrophysicist.
Yeah.
yeah,
that's so
and so,
wild.
like, it's funny because normally we think of celebrities as people who, like, go to these events, and that's really all they do. And so when you think of, like, Neil deGrasse Tyson, it's like, oh, you, like, are actually just here to do your job.
Yeah.
You're here at this museum as part of your job.
Yeah.
Like,
I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. We showed my daughter Cosmos, and now she says she wants to be an astrophysicist, broccoli ballerina.
Broccoli ballerina.
Yeah, so she wants to be an astrophysicist.
So is it like astrophysicist dash broccoli dash ballerina or astrophysicist dash broccoli ballerina?
I don't know. It might be broccoli dash ballerina.
Okay.
this sort of sounds like the resume of Mark Watney from The Martian. He's like, I'm an astronaut, but also...
Dash biology,
Yeah.
Scientist dash potato farmer in space.
So 4-year-olds are fun. Yeah.
Mark Watney, the eternal 4-year-old,
Yeah.
I guess. Oh man, that was one of my favorite books. Who was it? I had a friend that didn't like it very much. I think it was Cola, actually. And I was
You're
like,
pointing at me. I'm like, I don't
Cola.
I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads.
yeah,
Don't
well,
hate.
anyway, so I think we should start the normal way.
The normal way?
Just talk about how, like, things have been going over the past week, and Sarah can just tell us her story, whatever
Yeah.
that may be. I have a story about you, actually.
Oh.
It's very brief.
About me?
Yeah.
Not for me, just...
No, it's about you,
Okay.
from a stranger.
A stranger.
So, to you.
To me,
my
okay.
friend, this guy from, I guess I won't name him just because, but this guy from work who rides the train sometimes, he's like, there was someone sitting near me, and it took me a minute to place their voice, but it was your co-host, Alicia. I was like, wow.
That's so cool. I was
Yeah.
probably on the phone with my dad.
Yeah, you were, I think,
Oh.
because he said you were on the phone.
Yeah.
I thought he was about to tell me a story about someone being, like, too loud on the train or something.
Oh, well, I hope I wasn't too loud.
You probably weren't.
Yeah.
It just, when somebody
That's
starts
funny.
a train, like, I heard a voice on the
I had a
train.
voice. I think that's cool. My voice is recognizable.
Yeah.
I guess.
It is. You have a unique one.
Well, thanks. Doesn't sound like I'm eating a sock. Because I always feel like I'm in the process of eating a sock, and I can't quite
Well, it doesn't
articulate.
sound like your tongue is restricted.
Okay.
So it
Maybe
might be like you have a sock in the back of your throat. Yeah. So anyway, that I haven't really had anything happen for me this week. It's not a whole lot to say.
Nothing going on work related.
I mean, we I hate dead air. We just had a moment of dead air, and I was like, no, I must talk. No,
cut it out.
I put out a YouTube video. We talked about it last week, so just before last week, and it did really well compared to all my other videos.
Yeah.
It didn't do well enough to make me $60,000 like a Felix video.
Although I did get a pre-roll video before I watched your video.
Yeah, I monetize those things because I'm trying to get that money, yo.
So you're gonna make 6 cents. Maybe a cent.
If you click the ad, you get more.
I know. I'm sorry. It was like a Chrysler ad. I can't afford that. That would have messed up the conversions on their end. So.
I'm so glad that you're considerate of Chrysler's conversions. So anyway, that was really cool, actually. It was weird because I think on the podcast we talked about how I was like, man, I don't know if it'll do any good or not.
You did.
But yeah, it was way better than any of my
I shared
other
it with
videos.
a whole bunch of groups and I'm like, you guys gotta watch this video. It's
good.
great.
It's a good video.
Yeah, I got lots of likes on there.
Hey, maybe
Yeah,
this
the
is a
like
start.
ratio is crazy because it's got like a, I would probably like a 1.5% of the people who watched the video actually clicked like, and nobody's clicked dislike so far.
Nice.
Which is actually pretty high.
Yeah.
That's a pretty high rate of people actually doing something. So pretty cool.
And you haven't begged anyone, because I know there's a thing on YouTube where people think they're subscribed but not actually subscribed to these big YouTubers, and there's a whole scandal about the like ratio and that pushing things to the top of people's subscription feeds and blah blah blah. So now everyone's like, please like this video. All these videos I'm watching, I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to at this point. I'm sounding kind of thirsty. I mean, I'm pretty thirsty for Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh, who isn't?
So,
ooh, hey. This
is
wow.
Actually, my friend James, who's on Geek Parenting Podcast, he wrote a tweet and he tagged Lin-Manuel Miranda and he got a response from Lin-Manuel. Yeah, I'll have to look for it.
My dream.
We're like, oh my god, Lin-Manuel
That's
responded to you.
Yeah.
It was so
That's
awesome.
pretty crazy.
That's crazy. And I think we should talk about your podcast a little bit.
I was going to say, we should mention the various things that you're involved in.
I got my fingers in too many pots right now. What do you want to know? You want to?
Yeah. Just say tell us what you do.
Well, right now I work with Steve. That's where we met at work. But I actually have a couple of podcasts. The first one is Geek Parenting Podcast that I do with a couple of my friends. We're all parents and we're all geeky, so we just thought, hey, there's no Geek Parenting Podcast here. Let's go make one, and we've had a lot of fun doing that.
Has anybody ever called it the GPP?
Yes.
GPP?
Because you could make that a thing. You down with GPP?
Yeah,
you know me. Anyway.
Oh, that was nice.
That one.
That was really good. That was
great.
very in sync.
Yeah.
That'll be our new
Lin-Manuel,
theme
did you
song.
hear that?
Lin?
So bad. So
Seriously, you guys have to start tagging him in tweets.
we do a little bit.
I think
but I'm kind of afraid that he's gonna mute us though.
if he unfollows me, then that shows he's at least listening.
What, he follows you?
No, I blocks you, I should say. No.
Oh, if he blocks
my
you.
gosh, if Lin-Manuel followed me, that would be out of this. I don't know what I would do. I would be beside myself.
I was like, wow. But, have you... I don't know. I get kind of like spam followers on Twitter a lot, where it's like...
Usually it's like Russian models.
You go to their... Well, no, not even that. Just people, you go to their page, and they have, 5,000 followers, but they follow, 7,000 people, and I'm like... So you're not really using Twitter, right? You're just... Because you go to your timeline, and it's just a flood of crap that you don't recognize.
Yeah.
So that would be terrible. Timeline? That's not what they call it. But anyway.
Feed. So, so we do geek parenting, and then I actually started this the day after the election because I was so angry. I started geeksforjustice.com, which is a blog / event page / podcast. So it's just a whole bunch of information. A lot of my stuff from my PhD program I've been putting up on there just to get it out there and get people involved.
So we'll talk about this more, but your PhD was Your thesis was, you say it.
You want me to say the long term?
Well, no,
just
explain.
I'm kind of curious about the long one.
So this is the title that my professors made me give it. Okay, you ready? An interpretive phenomenological analysis of generational memory in a selection of Tipperary County residents.
Whoa.
That's the academic name.
Yeah, that's a good. Okay.
So I just
it's
like to
really
call
good academic name because if you don't know what it means, that
makes it sound like it's for you.
Well, it means it's not for you, right? You just go, oh,
this is not for me, and I set it aside.
Yeah.
I was.
Oh, this is too hard. I don't understand these words.
And I'm done reading this title. So.
I think I understand the words individually, but like when you put them all together, I'm like.
So basically, what I did is I looked at the phenomenon of generational memory, or how we tell the stories from generation to generation, and I looked specifically at conflict in Tipperary County because that's where my family emigrated from.
Where is that?
It's in Western Ireland, so it's just north of Cork and Cove, and it's kind of east of Kerry, the Ring of Kerry, kind of right in the center.
Cool. I was only asking because I don't think we said Ireland yet.
Yeah, Ireland.
So
Ireland. It's in Ireland. But I spent a month there and made really, really good friends and drank a lot of Guinness and a lot of whiskey, and they sent me home hungover the next day,
Nice.
my last day. So
that sounds like a fun plane ride.
Oh, no, it was awful.
Did you have to use the barf bag on the plane?
No, I did not. I was not that hungover.
That's so good. I've never had that. I haven't. Woo! I haven't been on a lot of planes, but I've never had anybody throwing up like near me on a plane.
I did.
And you know me.
Yeah. You would have hated flying with my mom then, because she got plane sick all the time, every single time, guaranteed. So, and so one time they didn't have a barf bag, so she threw up inside of a plastic bag, but the plastic bag had holes in it, and I won't go into detail about. Yeah. I was 7.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, this is so embarrassing. You know, like. 7-year-old.
You were embarrassed?
I was like embarrassed. And,
I would have been weeping
even
in
kind
the
of like I'm like, oh, this is beneath me. 7-year-old. Yeah. But anyways, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know half of any of that.
So that you were studying like how the storytelling and generational memory affected.
Well, so let's start this way. Is when I was growing up, I always heard my grandmother say she hated the British. And so I kind of grew up with that mindset. Oh, I hate the British too. And then as I got older, I was like, that's just stupid.
Why do I hate the British?
I don't hate the British. I'm like, I love the Beatles and I love Doctor Who. I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I kind of always latched onto that idea, and I wanted to understand why and where it came from. And it ended up being a really, really good experience. I learned a lot.
So. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's awesome. Man, it's really cool. It's funny because like, you meet somebody who has a doctorate. My mom has a doctorate now. It's funny. She'll answer the phone when like random numbers call and just say, "This is Dr. Matney," and she's like, "They hang up all the time."
That's what I need to start doing because I very rarely use it anymore. The term doctor. Yeah. Like when I was teaching, I never even made my students call me doctor. So I was just call me Sarah. It's
a big accomplishment, though, right? Like,
yeah.
But at the same time, I think about it, and like over the course of time, like. You'll meet people in life who aren't educated, but in the same way, but have done things that would give them the same qualifications of a PhD or whatever.
Oh yeah.
In like you might have like a PhD mechanic or something. Who obviously I don't know if there's a PhD you can get in mechanics unless it's like engineering, but like he just might be like, oh yeah, I've known cars since the 70s until now, and I know everything about and it's like
an expert. I mean, that's what essentially a PhD is saying you're an expert in this field or this specific topic.
But that sounds sort of like I'm diminishing your accomplishment. I don't mean to do that.
No,
I'm such a jerk.
No, you're not.
Well, he's already talking bad about himself.
I'm so sorry.
We're 10, 15 minutes in.
We are close to 15 minutes in. It doesn't even feel like it's been any time at all.
I know. This is great.
So anyway, so Geeks for Justice. Is there anything else that we can link for you or like?
No, those are the two big things.
So GPP and Geeks for Justice. Yeah, you know me. Cool. Well, how was your week? Let's stay with Sarah.
My week. Well, I started last week sick, so that was fun. So what happened is my husband and I decided we weren't going to drink any alcohol after the 1st of January. So he comes home the day before with this gigantic bottle of rum. And I'm like, thought we were quitting tomorrow. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to drink it all. We pretty much finished the bottle. So I woke up with a headache on Sunday. And Monday I woke up with a headache. And then Tuesday morning I woke up with a migraine. So I was out for a couple of days and just not enjoying life.
Well,
but don't drink that much. Just don't drink that much.
Okay. My wife and I, we drink sometimes, but very rarely do we ever drink to any excess. I have never been drunk, actually. I don't know if we've... No, I've never been drunk. I just...
Fun fact about Steve.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, alcoholism in my sort of, like, immediate family history, and so...
So you just don't really want to even go down that path, necessarily?
Yeah, but, like, I'm a very... I don't know. I'm super moderate in, like, all things. So I'm like, I'll have some drinks sometime. I try to be anyway. So, yeah, I've never been drunk. That sucks. Yeah. That you were...
It's okay. And then the weekend, we took Lily to the aquarium in Layton again because she loves that place. And
that's awesome.
She fed birds and pet stingrays and met with her favorite mermaid ever.
Steve Irwin doesn't love stingrays.
Oh, well.
Well, he loved them until they betrayed him.
He loved them to death.
Yeah.
Literally.
Hashtag too soon. Okay.
Actually, and I can say this. So I posted something on a friend's wall. And this was maybe a year ago, making a joke about Steve Irwin's death. No. And then a mutual friend of ours, who I didn't even know I still was friends with this person, because they're kind of terrible and I don't like them very much. Okay. But they came on and they made this
they listen to the podcast,
terribly long rant about how it was disrespectful to Steve Irwin. And I thought, I was like, is this person joking? And I don't know. So I didn't even I had no words to respond because I seemed so passionate, and I couldn't handle it.
How dare you diminish the life and death of Steve
Irwin was a great man who contributed. I was like, oh my gosh, like you're Steve Irwin's number one
Steve
fan.
Irwin was kind of an animal abuser. He wasn't very nice to animals.
Yes.
He jumped. Why would you jump on crocodiles? It's just not very nice.
He loved them so much that it hurt the animals.
That's true. And maybe him. Well, eventually
him too. Yeah. Oh,
probably more than once, but that final time.
That final time really got him.
It's crazy how that happened, though. Like,
that was a total fluke. That just
that's the only way he could have been taken out, though. Like there's
on a fluke.
Yeah. There's no way. He would have just been immortal. There's no... Yeah.
he was the Achilles.
His death must come by stingray to the heart.
It was actually Zeus himself who turned into a stingray who killed
And more appropriately, it was Poseidon, probably.
Oh, I don't know. Does Poseidon shapeshift? Or is he more of like a...
I don't know. Zeus definitely did shapeshift. But Poseidon was like the god of the sea, right?
Yeah. He just released the Kraken.
He was just like, oh, this guy's such a jerk. Zeus, can you do something about it? He's like, yeah, I guess. And so...
Steve's like, crikey. Oh, man. I just mimed Steve dying and saying crikey, so...
I wonder what his last words were, actually. I'm sure you can look it up.
I don't know. That is
probably I love stingrays or what a beautiful animal. I don't know.
It's like when like Bob Ross died, they're like, what do you see? He's like, a happy tree.
Happy cloud.
And then his soul left his body through his hair.
Wow, we are so funny joking about people dying.
Yeah,
that's terrible. Now I feel bad that I said that. Because it was like funny without acknowledging it. And then you're like, we're making jokes about people being dead. And then it's like...
Everybody dies, Steve. It's just a reality of life.
Oh, thanks for reminding me.
You're welcome.
I don't think about that enough, that's for sure. Okay. Alicia, did you want to talk about any good stories from
I don't have any good stories from my week. I don't have negative stories from my week.
That could still be a good story, though.
Negative, I guess, yeah. Good story.
Oh, tell us about your awning.
Yeah, so the patio in the back of my house. It was on Sunday, which today's Monday, so yesterday. It was, there's already like a foot or so of snow. It was raining a lot, so it was really heavy. And we've had more snow on that patio before, it's been totally fine. But it collapsed and it crushed everything underneath. It crushed our tables and our grill, and it ripped
Is everything
out.
busted?
Oh yeah, just totally. It ripped out from the house. The supports didn't collapse, but I was looking at it, and the wood that connects the awning is metal. And it was connected to the house, but it was just like with a piece of wood, and it was completely rotted out. That house was built in like the 20s, so it's pretty old house. But yeah, just crushed everything, ripped out our cable, down some power lines in the back, which was fun. Man. So, but thankfully didn't crush any of my dogs, which were inside at the time, and that would have been really sad, and I probably wouldn't have been able to do this podcast today because I'm in mourning,
of course,
for my dogs.
I would still expect you to be here.
Steve is my boss.
not at all.
I love saying that.
It makes me feel so awkward.
I know. But
do you know what my boss said to me the day after Carrie Fisher died?
Oh yeah,
I
saw that you posted that.
Because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, like massive, addicted to Star Wars, so much so that I have a Star Wars tattoo.
Oh, that's cool.
So I get to work.
Trust me, it's cool, people.
Yeah.
It's rainbowy.
Yeah.
When we start having guests, we should. This is like the instance when I'm like, I wish we had an Instagram. You know,
You
like,
need an Instagram, totally.
Well, Instagram is like. This is gonna sound bad, but Instagram is kind of easy to like get followers on because you just hashtag the right things. And people on Instagram use those as search terms, basically. And so you end up people going, oh, I like the things that they're posting. So, like, it's a lot more organic way to grow followership, I think, than other things. Because unless, I don't know how Twitter's hashtags work, because I never really use them. But I don't know. Anyway.
But, yeah, my boss said, if you need to take the day, it's totally understandable. And I was like, no, I'm sad, but I'm okay, thanks.
Didn't he say?
I cried, but I'm good.
Didn't he say something like George Michael hit me?
Yeah, George
Michael.
If you know her boss, that is hilarious.
Oh, okay. I had to remember like that's a person because I was thinking Arrested Development, like George Michael, Michael's Bluth's.
Is his name George Michael?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize.
Well, I mean it's Michael Cera,
right?
But the character is George Michael. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was, it was hilarious, and it was much appreciated. It was like, no, I'm good. I don't need a day off for a celebrity death.
Yeah. Oh man, that reminds me of the Office Space when they're talking to Michael Bolton is the guy's name, and they're like, you should go by Mike or like change your name, and he's like, why should I change my name? He's the one who sucks. Oh, great line.
That's awesome.
Really good at quoting other people's jokes. What a great comedy podcast. So anyway, I guess that can end our How Was Your Week segment. We had a whole bunch of questions from not a whole bunch, but enough questions from the audience this week. I think there are some that I think we should start with first because they were like posts on our wall, separate from our posts about the episode, and we keep forgetting to get to these, and I'm like, we gotta.
Shame.
Yeah.
So Christopher.
Oh, you outed him.
It's okay. He doesn't care. Chris.
I say outed, but that was not the right word.
Name. Can bleep his name.
Oh, please do that. That'd be excellent.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'm gonna make it like a really weird bleep though. Like it's gonna sound like just like some horrible sound. Instead of just a regular bleep.
Please cut out that exact sound that you made.
Okay, I'm going to. That's a great idea. So anyway, he said that sometime in the last couple weeks, what did you learn about yourself as a gamer this year?
As a gamer.
Alicia, it was 2016 when I was like, I think I've been watching some people play Fallout, and you're like, I love Fallout.
I'm still playing Fallout.
Really?
I'm still playing Fallout 4.
I'm still playing it, yeah. I played it for about 5 hours on Saturday.
Wow.
That's what happens when you only have dogs and no kids and no responsibilities.
I missed that.
Sorry, everybody. But yeah, it was...
What was I doing on Saturday? Because I have dogs and no kids right now, and I don't know. I'm like...
You're not a dink, though, right?
No.
Okay, yeah, I'm a dink.
Yeah.
So that might be...
Well, I mean, I don't know if you could call Otto a second income. I mean, just joking. He's going to be so mad at me that I said that. I wish he was on the floor so he could make
Our
fun of me.
producer is not here right now. So.
I know. No, that's terrible. Otto is wonderful, and he's my favorite dude. So anyway, what did you learn about yourself as a gamer this year? This is sort of a weird question that you have to ruminate on, I think.
Yeah, I think I learned I don't like to finish games.
Oh, man.
Because when I finish a game, then the game is over. And that's why I'm still playing Fallout a year later after I got it. Christmas Day.
2015.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So.
I learned a long time ago that I don't have the stamina to finish a game. So, I get so easily distracted, and I'll play something for a little while and then just be like, I'm done with that for right now, and then never come back to it. And that is the story of my whole life in every possible way.
Oh. Except for this, though. We're on episode 17
17,
right now.
I know. Well, it's because there's another person who's like reliant on me to continue. So otherwise I'd probably be like, I don't know.
I'm a pusher, I said that last
true.
episode.
You are a pusher. But anyway, yeah, as a gamer this year, I actually learned, this is something interesting, because I was trying like streaming for a little while, and that, for some reason, it felt like a lot of pressure, like to like just go play the game and also to like be on at the same, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like at the same time. And so like it started to become like, oh, I have to go do this thing, and it makes me nervous that I'm going to be really exhausted afterwards, and it's really hard to find for me to find a consistent time to like be like, I'm always going to do this at this time, because something else always comes up, and I'm like, I can't today, gonna have to wait till next week, and then it's just wait till next week forever. So I learned that I'm actually better if I like prepare things and then like work on it and then do, instead of doing it live. But I think if I had more time, I would do it because it's fun. Yeah. Like streaming is fun. But if I just don't have the time to like dedicate to it, like if it was a job, I could be like, okay, well, I'm streaming at this time every day or whatever. I don't know if I would want that to be my job because I don't know if I could deal. But anyway, that's what I learned about myself as a gamer. Sarah, you?
So I got Dishonored 2 for Christmas, and I learned very quickly that I hate challenges in video games. I like it to a certain extent. I game for the stories, and so Dishonored 2 is very, like, I loved the first one, and I haven't played it for a long time, so playing Dishonored 2, I'm like, this game's making me so mad, because I kept dying in this one particular area, and I'm still stuck in the same spot, and I'm like, I haven't played it in like 3 days. I'm just like, nope, can't do it. So I very quickly lose my patience if I get too challenged, which is not a good thing with games.
Yeah. You're not going to be one of those pro gamers, I guess, probably.
No, I just like to play it for the stories.
That's fun.
I've spent over 300 hours on Skyrim.
Yeah. I remember when...
I like just watching people play that, too.
Skyrim's really fun. I've actually been watching on Twitch a couple of streamers, but there's this one I found recently. He's really fun, and he spends the first 2 hours of his stream just talking to people on the chat, like not even gaming, just talking about stuff, and then he gets into the games, and he's been really fun to watch with Skyrim and what he's playing now. So
cool,
a lot of fun stuff.
Nice. So that was an interesting question. Thank you, Chris.
Crispy.
Yes. It's crispy as his red crispy.
Well, hello, Plain Donuts listeners. Just wanted to have another one of our regular interruptions. Just in the middle of the show, right there, smack dab where you would expect it. Just to say, once again, as always, thank you so much for listening. You guys are really great. It's been so fun so far doing the Plain Donuts podcast. It is a super good time, and that is all because of our interactions with you guys. I mean, it'd be pretty fun with just me and Alicia alone, but it's even better and way more fun because you guys are here interacting with us on a weekly basis. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. It's really wonderful. For this episode, Sarah Hanisko, the Doctor of Peace, as it were, was on, and she has a bunch of different links you can go to: the Geek Parenting Podcast and Geeks for Justice. Okay, 2 different links. If you want to find Sarah's links, we've got those set up for you on this episode's page/post at yourplaindonuts.com. That's our Plain Donuts website, the fanciest, most professional website of all time. Yourplaindonuts.com. That's YOUR plaindonuts.com. Yourplaindonuts.com is also a place you can go to find links to all of our social media. That is currently Facebook and Twitter. And you can even leave feedback there at yourplaindonuts.com as well if you want. So that is yourplaindonuts.com. That's YOUR plaindonuts.com. I said that website name about 1,000 times. Anyway, if you love the podcast, if you want to continue to see the podcast grow, there are 2 things that would be awesome for you to do. The first thing is something that we just like to request. It's leaving a review on iTunes. That's just a really good way for us to see in a sort of quantifiable place to figure out how we're doing. So if you love it or if you hate it, I guess, go leave a review there. The other thing, and probably the most important thing you could do to help out, is to share the podcast with your friends. Like we always say, the podcast grows with you sharing it. It's not going to grow really in any other significant way other than you telling your homies to tell their homies that Plain Donuts is the coolest podcast on the block. So, if I could request that you would do that, go share it with a friend on Facebook, or even just play it for them in person and like watch their face while you guys listen to it and hope that they make laughing faces and just make it super awkward, because that's what I'd do. Just kidding. I wouldn't do that. You know me. Anyway, this is getting dumb. Again, thank you so much for listening. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be some aspect of your entertainment every week. So, yep, that's it. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Cola responded to last week's episode on our wall. She said Lin-Manuel Miranda is in London for the new Mary Poppins. That's what he's doing there. And she said, I am that stalkery. And I was like,
is he doing the music for it? For the new Mary Poppins?
I don't know what he's doing.
That would be #lit. If he was.
Yeah.
So many fire emojis. So
this album is fire.
Okay. Do we have any more commentary? Yeah. This feels very, like, ordered.
Yeah.
It's usually, like, so tangenty.
Although, you know what? I think there was a question a while ago, and I'm only barely remembering this. I don't know if we answered it earlier or not, but Chris, there are 2 Chris's that are very involved with our podcast, asked about if we were stranded on an island, what book would we bring with us?
Oh.
Or, like, what object? I can't remember exactly.
It was I think we talked about it, and it was an object.
Okay.
I think. But anyway.
Yeah,
you can answer a question like that right now if you want to, but we're going to have to define it.
Oh. Yeah. We'll say object.
Okay, what object would you bring with you on a desert island?
Yeah.
A kitchen. No.
Just like his fight.
Magic kitchen.
Steve brings an entire kitchen
that
with him.
That was such a great callback.
That was a really good...
So good at callbacks.
Yeah.
Just call me, who's that guy? Dang it. English comedian.
Mr. Bean?
Craig Ferguson.
Eddie Izzard.
Eddie Izzard, yes. He's the callback.
I love Eddie Izzard.
He's so good at callbacks.
Callback king.
Sorry, I was distracted. I heard a noise and I was like,
that was me.
Oh,
I hit my elbow.
Oh, I thought it sounded like the speakers, and I was like, is something going wrong with the recording? So, anyway, Cool. I would.
Bring a kitchen?
No. Well, obviously, like with the stocked thing. This is.
Steve, I think, is logged into Facebook and he's getting notifications.
No,
sound.
that was a work notification actually, but
Oh.
it doesn't matter. It's just somebody posted a chat in some room and it beeped, and I thought I had it muted, but I didn't.
Okay.
Darn you, chat.
Okay, so I know those Atlassian people. Anyway, they're not really that bad. Let's see. Hey, shout out to Atlassian. We still want your sponsorship. So anyway,
Thirsty for sponsors.
what would Desert Island utensils? I feel like we did answer this, and I don't remember what I answered. So I'll just try to think of a new one.
Yeah. I'd bring a knife. I mean, that's practical, right?
Yeah, very practical. If you could only bring one thing.
Or katana.
Wow.
That would be exciting.
1,000-degree katana cuts through pineapple.
Coconuts in a single swipe.
That's a trend on YouTube right now, like 1,000-degree knife cutting into things.
I saw someone do that.
Yeah,
With
so
some makeup, and I was like, that's so expensive.
It's real Fruit Ninja.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I would bring a fishing pole because,
That sounds nice.
because at least it's sort of like a somewhat guarantee of food.
Yeah.
If you find bait, but
You need a fishing spear.
Oh, that's
Ooh,
true. Yeah.
Like Finnick Odair in Hunger
Yeah.
Games.
Oh, like the Hunger Games character, Finnick Odair.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the Hunger Games.
Come on, Steve, you just gotta go.
You know
with
what's
it.
funny is like
He's from the district with the ocean.
Yeah,
and
District
so he likes
4.
to fish.
Cool.
He's never read Hunger Games, has
I
he?
haven't. No, I've seen the
What?
movies. And fun fact, I never remember a movie the first time I see it. Like, if I watch a movie, I think for me it's a good thing because like I'm just being like
watching it for the
entertained as
first
it
time.
comes, right? And for me, I'm just like in the moment of the movie. So when people are like, "Oh, how'd you like that movie?" Whatever it was, I'm like, "Oh, it was a good movie." But like. I have to see something for the second time to like really remember the details of it. Mm-hmm. So I have seen most of the Hunger Games movies only once, and I don't remember anything that happened in them, other than just like the general plot points, right? So it's really bad because it's dumb, or maybe I'm just an idiot and I just don't remember things.
Sarah, did we ask you? I don't think we did.
No.
No, I would probably bring a tent.
Oh, nice.
Cause
Shelters is nice.
I would probably bring a tent. I know that's kind of utilitarian.
No,
but
it's good.
That's actually nice because then you don't have to worry about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because setting up shelter is like the number one thing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
once you're stranded, you have to set up a shelter. So
Yeah.
then you're already covered. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
if
probably
you could
take
just
tent.
bring a tent, that's a great.
Yeah.
Because I hate camping and to be stuck on a desert island. As much as I love the beach, I wouldn't want to be stuck there.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and
I think
sand.
of Lost, and that's just
I
bad.
hate
Smoke
sand.
monsters and
It gets everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you, Anakin.
You're welcome.
So anyway, cool. We have another question from a different Chris, who said, "Who is Batman to you?" And I was like, "This is really like."
so is this like which Batman is
well,
my Batman?
and then
or...
he left a comment that said, "If you say George Clooney, I'm banning you from answering any comic book questions from here on out." So I at first I was like, "Is that a psychological question?"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, I guess he means actors."
I know who my Batman is.
Who's your
Kevin
Batman?
Conroy.
Who's Kevin?
Kevin Conroy is the voice of Batman in Batman the Animated Series.
Oh.
He is my Batman, and Mark Hamill is my Joker. In
Yeah.
fact, my new ringtone is Mark Hamill reading the Trump tweet.
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
I totally
that was
made it
pretty
my
good.
ringtone.
I looked into that. I was like, oh, are you sure it's not the Joker who's tweeting?
That's really good. Yeah,
Oh.
it's so funny because you hear it and you're kind of like, wow, that guy's really good at the Joker voice.
Yeah.
And then you're like, it's Mark
It is
Hamill.
the Joker.
It is the Joker voice.
Yeah.
So it's so funny. Well, that's
Who's
cool.
Batman?
Batman to me, you know, I've actually thought more about Batman this past year than probably any year before because of
Is
like
this your
Batman v
Batman year?
Superman. No, like I'm not a big fan of Batman or anything. I just thought about the character a lot
Yeah.
for some reason. So like I don't know. Batman is such an emo like.
I just kind of. I
Oh
don't
my
know.
gosh, we were watching somebody play the Batman Telltale game, and they kept bringing up that his parents were dead, and we're like, really? I think we know. You've only said it like 80 times in the last 3
We
episodes.
need another Batman origin story,
Please.
you guys. I need to see the Pearl's snapping off the
yes.
dude's
Like,
gun
look,
one more time.
Every movie.
It's the pearls. The pearls have to be
Even
broken off,
I think they even show pieces of it in every piece of the Christopher Nolan trilogy.
Yeah.
I think there's like a piece of it in each one. I don't know,
It's
but
almost like its own trope within like a specific.
Yeah.
You know, it's
not a
weird.
Batman movie without broken pearls.
what if
Yeah.
it's like in the DC contract when you like go to like
You
make a
must-
movie or whatever
yeah.
with them? They're like,
You
you must talk
break
about the Batman
Martha's
origin
pearls.
story.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know who my Batman is.
Yeah, honestly, and this is gonna sound really stupid because it wasn't a very good movie, but I think names. I'm good at names right now. All the names are gone.
What's the
Matt
movie?
Damon's co-writer.
Ben Affleck?
Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
I think Affleck did a really good job with
did.
Batman. So
He did a fantastic job with Batman.
I
That
mean,
movie
although
just needed help.
do you remember the guy that played Robin when Clooney was Batman? What is his
Chris
name?
O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell. I loved him as Robin. I was like, this is awesome. But I was a teenager, so
Yeah.
who knows? I'll probably rewatch it and be like, this
Why
guy's
did I like
dumb.
this? Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't particularly love Clooney as Batman, although the nipple suit was pretty good.
That was
He was a good
wondered.
Bruce Wayne. But he wasn't a good Batman. But he was a good Bruce Wayne.
Well, and the thing is like Clooney plays such like always this like really classy
Like debonair,
character.
like,
yeah.
yeah.
So to have him play Batman is sort of weird because
Yeah.
like
George Clooney, I feel like, plays himself
that's
in
true.
every single movie, kind of like Seth Rogen plays himself in every
Yeah.
single movie. So yeah, seeing him, I'm like, oh, it's George Clooney fighting crime, pretending to be Batman, but it's not actually Batman, you know. So
Anyway,
anyways,
who is Batman to you?
who's Batman to me?
He's not the hero we need.
The hero we deserve.
So
Yeah, I don't know. What's the movie? Has the penguin in it? Is that Batman
Returns?
Returns.
is it Returns?
Batman
Yeah,
Returns.
who's the actor that plays Batman in that?
Costner?
No.
No.
No, it's,
Kilmer? Val
no,
Kilmer?
No. Oh, what's his name?
Costner never played Batman, right?
I don't think so.
Just
I gotta
Robin
look that
Hood.
up.
It's I can see his face.
Yeah.
I
The only reason
hate
why I
that.
say he
Is
that's
it Michael Keaton?
Probably. I think that's who
yeah.
it is. Yeah, that
I
sounds
just
right.
that movie was like kind of nostalgic for me for some reason.
Right.
So I just remember the scene of like, baby penguin like going through the sewers and like washing up next to all the penguins. It was just bizarre.
Yeah.
Like really weird. Was that did Tim
Yeah,
Burton
it's-
direct that
I
one?
think
Yes.
so, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's Michael Keaton.
Yeah, so
That's the one.
that's my Batman, probably, just because it's like a nostalgic, weird
It's
thing
funny
for
that
me.
you were right about that because normally, like, when we guess something like that, we go, "Oh yeah, it was definitely this," and then it's so wrong. Come back to it later, and we're
It
like,
was definitely Lin-Manuel Miranda as Batman.
I
That's
have
for
one
sure.
of those weird brains where, like, if I read it, I can remember it. Like, we were one day watching this nature show on PBS, and my husband's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's an axolotl." He's like, "What?" He's like,
Yeah.
"That is not what it's called." I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh no!" And I googled it, and I'm like, "It's an axolotl." And
Wow.
he's like, "How do you remember this shit?"
they're like
That's
cute.
why you've
cute
got
little,
a PhD.
That's probably-
Yeah, cute little water dragons or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Those
No,
are-
my family won't play Trivial Pursuit with me though.
Yeah. I'm really bad when it comes to Trivial Pursuit. I'm like, I love this game. And so, like, I get really into it. And my wife is like, why do you care so much? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just really fun. Before we get to the questions, I wrote down 50 likes because our Facebook page got to 50 likes this week.
Woo!
We made it!
Congratulations!
You are the 50th like. Okay. That's dumb.
Who
Sorry.
was our
It's a
50th
balloon.
like?
I don't know. I didn't look.
Oh, shout out to
Whoever you
whoever
are.
you are.
You get a cookie.
I think it might have. No, I don't know. I don't know who it was. I was going to say something, but I don't know who. Okay, so Cola was the first one to respond on our post, I think. Nicole, our friend, who mentioned Lin-Manuel. She said she wants to hear about the flat earth theory. And I don't know why in the podcast with the conflict analysis expert, we need to talk about flat earth.
Earth
Flat Earth.
theory.
No.
So flat Earth theory.
Okay, so I went to the Flat Earth Society's webpage today.
Okay.
And It's...
I mean, I know what it is. I'm just like, what?
So that's what people believe, that the ice caps are encompassing the circle, and we're a disc, like it's like a frisbee being thrown through space or upwards, moving upwards, and that's what gravity is the process
that we're
of
constantly
our
moving
frisbee
upwards.
Disc world is us moving upwards.
Discworld. Wasn't that a movie?
Discworld. It's like a
book.
Book, yeah.
So, anyway, I went to their website because I was like, well, I got to figure out what they say anyway. And the first thing I Googled was, how do flat earthers explain? And the thing that came up was time zones, and I was like, all right, sure, that's a fine starting point. So then, like, somebody asked that question on some forums, and they're like, go to the FAQ. So I went.
I love that. That's like.
I went to the FAQ, the frequently asked questions, right? This is like the place. Apparently, it's on the front page. You can click to it from there. So like
Flat Earth Wiki,
So like this is where you should be getting your information. It's from this FAQ. That's the first thing you'll read, right?
They have a podcast.
Nice.
Wow.
So anyway, that is our competition at this point. I'll bet they get like
more likes.
I'll bet they get like 10,000 downloads a week too, and they're all troll downloads. But anyway. Like how Trump has like 1 million hate followers at least on Twitter. Anyway,
they only have 48,000 people who like them on Facebook.
Like them on
the Flat
Facebook?
Earth Society. Yeah.
That's
How many of those are
that's
like
a pretty significant number though.
Yeah.
Like to.
We just have to do something controversial, and that'll get our page more likes.
I know, like we just have to believe something really stupid. So it's funny because they had like one of the early questions in the FAQ is like, what evidence do you have for a flat Earth or whatever? And like one of the answers is that you can't see the curvature of the Earth, even from airplanes. They specifically say that, right? And then down later, they talk about like, I think it was in the question about photography from space or something, but they say, well, you can't see the curvature of the Earth from airplanes. Although, even if the Earth was a globe, you wouldn't be able to see it. And I was like, you are refuting your own points in the FAQ? Like, on the same webpage.
Whoa, Steve's getting fired up. And I have, if you fly above the Arctic Circle, which apparently none of these flat earthers have, you can see the curvature of the Earth.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, like, so the reason Nicole, and I'm just going to call her that, she said it's okay. So anyway, the reason she asked about this was because she met somebody who's like a legitimate flat earther, and she was like, what? And so she said for like a week she engulfed herself in things about the flat earth theories, and it made her so, I was like, did you end up convinced? And she's like, no. And I was like, okay, so she sent me this like reaction video, which I'm not a huge fan of reaction videos unless they're well done. But anyway, this guy just reacting to some other guy talking about flat earth stuff. And then I went to the guy's page who was talking about the flat earth stuff. And I won't even go into some of the crap he was saying. But it actually has him standing behind this really fancy level. And behind him is a horizon as like his picture for his page, and I'm like, wait, is he standing using that level to prove that the horizon isn't curved? Because the scale is not right. Like this is not science. So
that's amazing.
It's so bad. And then there was some other argument. It made me so mad. I was like yelling. I was sitting here by myself in my office yelling at this page. So it's really stupid. But then they're like, look at the stars. They made this argument. The stars all move together. They're not moving like at separate speeds or whatever. And I was like, I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Even if it is true, the reason you perceive it that way is because you are moving at the same speed. You're moving at one speed, and so the things are moving past you. And have you ever... How
do they explain orbits of spacecraft and satellites?
The NASA's not trustworthy.
Oh, okay.
That's the whole... I mean, when you ask about like space photography and astronauts, they say, well, there's a lot of reasons to be skeptical about this.
I'd like Buzz Aldrin to meet them.
Yeah, he punched me in the face, actually.
Yeah.
So I guess
he did once.
Ultimately, what do they believe is the reasoning for people to lie about a round Earth? Did they say that?
I don't know. I didn't actually look.
Like, that's my one... Like, why would someone lie to you? Like, why?
What's the point?
What's the purpose of someone lying to you about that? Like, to get money for space thing? If you think it's just for money, then...
I don't know, like...
that's so weird.
They said that astronauts have been paid off, basically, or have been tricked somehow. And I'm like, how do you get tricked that you flew into space?
Yeah. Explain the fact that we have videos of people, like, from the ground, from cell phones, of space shuttles, like, going off into... Oh, that's so weird.
Well, and then, like, you have to explain away the phenomena, and it takes a long time, but, like, as a ship moves away, they actually, like, lower in the horizon. You can watch it happen over a long period of time. So you have to explain that away with some kind of magic, too. And it's like...
Big waves, Steve.
Big waves.
Big waves.
So, well, and, like, there are other questions, like, why can't you just see to the very edge of the horizon? Why don't I look out past the, like, go to the top of a mountain and look out and see, like, ice caps? Because that's what I should be seeing according to their weird map. But, anyway. So, I'm glad...
That's great.
The thing is like I couldn't look too deep into it because a lot of it gets like really religious because it's like they'll like tie it to like Christian prophecies and stuff in scripture and stuff.
Or
and
like,
like,
you know, the turtle, like the world's in the back of a turtle, like going
That's not
space.
science. That's not science.
Isn't that science fiction though? Like, isn't that a...
It's Native American. It's Native American mythology.
Okay. So anyway, that's right. I knew it was somewhere. In Dungeons and Dragons, there's like a giant thing that you can find that's essentially an island that is a turtle, but I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, that's very beside the point.
Well, thank you, Dr. Sarah, for your insight of
It's not science!
Well, it's really...
The consensus is, the doctor here says, it is not science, therefore, it is not science.
True. Well, and, like, it's really weird, like, when people make these claims that, like, scientists have all these conspiracies to trick us into believing...
Scientists are just trying to scrape together grant money to barely fund their projects.
Well, so here's the thing. Pope Francis... So I'm Catholic. I was raised Catholic.
Sure.
Pope Francis has frankly said, science is not... we need to pay attention to science. Science is going to answer a lot of questions because science is not, science is not a bad thing.
Right.
He has come out and said, we need science.
And like...
What a cool pope.
Yeah, he is.
Mostly.
He's a really good pope.
He's the illest. Actually, I don't forget Lin-Manuel Miranda. I want to be retweeted
by
Pope
Francis.
Pope Francis himself. That would be awesome. The Man, that is a cool Twitter handle too. Pontifex. Like, man, that just sounds rad. Anyway, he's really good. I was really excited when he started tweeting, and the first few of his tweets, I was like, I have never heard someone who's Catholic say things like this. I was so... And I haven't paid a lot of attention.
What's really interesting is, I don't want to derail you guys too much, but when they did the conclave...
We're here for you.
I know. When he did the conclave, I was like, oh God, please let him pick the name Francis. Because Francis of Assisi is like... My patron saint. He's the peacemaker. He's the one who went into the Middle East and talked with the sultans and the imams. He's the animal lover. And I was just like, we need a Pope Francis. And then he picked the name Francis and said it was for Assisi. And I was like, oh, yes, this is going to be a good Pope. And he's been really good. I mean, there's still issues that women have to deal with the Catholic Church and with him. But he's been a really good Pope.
Yeah.
He's definitely the most progressive Pope.
I mean, come on. Pope Francis encourages mothers to breastfeed in the Sistine Chapel one day ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Hashtag
funny.
cool Pope.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, sometimes it seems like he just has his finger on the pulse because the whole breastfeeding thing is a big deal right now, right? And then Pope Francis is like, come breastfeed. Yeah. Who cares?
This is the one I like. Pope Francis says, evolution is real and God is no wizard.
Oh. Check that out.
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of Gandalf as God.
Well, and the thing is like, that's a lot of people... A lot of really reasonable Christians talk about how like we don't believe in magic, right? And so like it's because a lot of people would accuse Christians of believing in magic, but like it's anyway. I mean, realistically, if you believe that God created everything and is in control of everything, then he can work outside of that too if he wants to. If that's what you believe. But anyway, I could go into this for days and days and days.
Yes. Yeah, we're not supposed. I'm not supposed to let him get into theological
No,
conversations, right?
we shouldn't do that.
Let's not do that.
Oh man, because it'll go on and on. So yeah, the flat Earth stuff made me so mad, and I was like, I can't go into this if you are refuting yourself in your like main marketing material. Like this is first of all, this is stupid. Yeah. Secondly, it's run very shoddily,
And third, it's just stupid.
So where they're at, I'm curious because I want to know what kind of revenue that they're building from this.
Oh, I don't know. I have an ad blocker.
Yeah,
so.
I'm curious to know what ads that they have on
bet
their
they
side.
do.
They must have some crazy ads.
Sometimes when you go to like super biased links from Facebook and stuff, it's just like a flood of ads.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you clearly someone is trying to abuse your readership. Like they want you to come to this page and click their ads. They don't care what they say. It's very frustrating. Yeah, I think that's in journalism though, that's kind of like a tough line to walk, right? Because like especially for magazines and newspapers, you have to sell ads.
Yeah.
But you cannot become beholden to advertisers because you have to keep that like clear journalistic eye, hopefully. So that's a hard line. Anyway, the next question was from Jameson. I believe me, I've seen Lord of the Rings movies, actually a couple of them.
Oh, is this my Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, this is the Lord of the Rings.
Hopefully I can answer this.
Sarah said explicitly that she loves the Lord of the Rings, and she told me personally that she was like thinking about the Lord of the Rings recently.
Oh,
so it's not that deep of a question into the Lord of the Rings world, but it's definitely about the main plot line. Other than that, I don't understand it.
Okay.
He said, what was the other option for the Fellowship to go to instead of Moria after they left Rivendell? I don't...
Okay, so they could have gone over the mountain, which is where they got caught in the big snowstorm.
I was going to say, didn't they try that?
They tried that.
Yeah.
And so the second option was the Mines of Moria, and then the third was to go through the Gap of Rohan, which would have taken them too close to... the tower.
Is it Saruman?
They would have taken too close to Saruman's castle or fortress or whatever.
Nice. I'm a huge fan of fantasy. Like that's mostly the books that I read is like fantasy novels. But I've never read The Lord of the Rings, and I've actually been told by people, if you like modern fantasy, you might not like it.
You might not like Lord of the Rings because it's... I love it, but it is one of the hardest books I've ever read.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like the way... It's so funny because the way Tolkien wrote, like...
Is that how you pronounce his name?
Tolkien.
Tolkien.
Oh, okay.
Did I say I always...
Tolkien?
That last...
Tolkien.
The last syllable, I always just...
I flub
the vowels because I don't know if it's Tolkien or Tolkien or Tolkien. Or so I just try to say whatever comes out is what it is right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, because I don't know, I would love to hear him say it, and you could probably find a recording of him saying it. But the way he wrote was like he basically like planned the whole world and the whole plot and everything, and then he wrote it out.
Well, actually, it started because he's a linguist. He started with the languages before he did anything else. That's the crazy thing is he wrote out the Elvish language and the Dwarvish language and the language of Mordor before he did anything else because he was a linguist by practice and by education. So
that's awesome. But they tell you not to write like that. Like if you hear like listen to any common writing advice, it's like don't world build yourself to the point where you're not actually writing anything. Like world building is fun, but like give yourself enough to go on to like serve your plot and your characters, right? And
I think that's why his books are so dense is because he was focusing on the building of the world and not necessarily the story. Yeah,
well, and it's interesting because that's like the first kind of like the genesis of the fantasy genre, right? So it sort of has to be that way, I would think. Yeah. Like it has to be
like set the standard essentially.
Yeah,
of like this is kind of what this is generally like. It doesn't have to look like this.
Yeah.
But
well, the idea is that it's like a just really well thought out fairy tale, right? And that's kind of like what fantasy really is just like just out of this world, literally kinds of things. Yeah. So it's cool. It's really cool. I'm glad you knew the answer to that because I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. Thank you, Jameson, for that question. Do you want to talk anything? Because what did I? You sent me like the thing that you use for blurbs, right? Just the description of you and your work, and then I was like, well, let's try to put some dumb jokes in here, because otherwise it won't be a Plain Donuts product if it doesn't have any dumb jokes in it.
Jokes are what our standard is.
So one of the things that I wrote in there was that, like, you could explain why they were so concerned about the ring, and then how that relates to us in this world. And I wondered if
that could go into bad places right now. No, I'm willing to do it. I'm just saying, like, I can go off on that if you really want me to.
Well, I would wonder, like, maybe not so specifically, but like more in a general sense, how we can use, and this is going to get very general, I guess, but how we can use stories like that and the themes of them to look at our world, if that makes sense.
So there's a project I've been working on in my brain for like 3 years now called Geek Leadership. And it's just forming right now, but it's taking like the geek stories that we have and turning them into lessons that we can learn. So take, for instance, Lord of the Rings, right? You've got this big evil, defeated in some level, but it always remains, right? And think of it like fascism. Okay, so let's think about fascism. Got big, it got powerful, it got defeated, but there were still the seeds there, right? So the seed is like the ring. And it hasn't been completely destroyed yet, so that is still there, and it's still, fomenting inside of people and growing stronger again. And that's what happens is now we're seeing fascism grow stronger again, and we're going to have to defeat it. We're going to have to destroy the ring. And I think what I've really been interested in seeing, like, you guys are pure millennial. I'm like right on that cusp. But like,
I don't know if I'd call myself a pure millennial.
Oh, come on, you're 100% pure millennial.
So I consider myself to be like an older millennial. I'm 37, so like I was born in 79, which is 80 is like the cutoff year. But I'm like, I'm not really Generation X, but I'm not really a millennial.
I know that feeling.
But I see the younger generation coming up now. We're seeing a lot less racism, a lot less sexism, a lot less hatred. People are more open-minded. People are more accepting. And so I think we're getting into that kind of space now where we can defeat those little evils, even if it's in little battles.
I wonder, so you mentioned like how, so with the example of fascism, it was defeated, but there were still the seeds kind of building up in people. When you looked at like generational memory and those kinds of stories, does that influence those kinds of seeds? And
Oh,
that kind of thing?
yeah. So let's go back to the Lord of the Rings example. So in The Hobbit, for those of you who have seen the Hobbit movie, at the beginning we see Thorin Oakenshield fighting some of the orcs. We see him fighting Azog the Defiler, which is the big white guy with all the scars. And what happens? The elves abandon him, right? They had vowed to fight with him and they abandoned him. So what does that do? That makes you bitter that you've lost an ally. So that kind of fermented, and cemented the hate of the dwarves of the elves. And likewise, the elves hated the dwarves, So what you're seeing now, and I don't want to get too political, but it might have to go there.
Okay. So
let's talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. You've had a group of people who have been marginalized, oppressed, a history of violence, both systemic and physical, and they're angry and they're upset. And so you see that coming out, and you see the stories told from parent to child. This is what we've been through. This is our family's heritage. On the other side, on the flip side, you have groups like the KKK. And what are they telling their children? Our kids learn from us. They don't learn from just being out playing. Right. They learn from what we tell them. So if you raise a child to hate somebody and you demonstrate that hate every day, whether it's in voice or written word or just what you do and show them, they're going to learn it. And that's how it's passed down from generation to generation. I hated the British because I heard my grandmother say she hated the British.
Right.
It's really interesting, too, because, like, if you think about, like, it's funny because for me, growing up in Utah, very far from the South, very far from that kind of an influence, like, the sort of, like, heyday of the KKK, like when they were sort of literally like kind of controlling those areas, that wasn't more than 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah, I think
right?
we try and make it seem like it was something that happened a long time ago.
Oh,
but
even just 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when you think about, there was a movie that was released, I think it was 2012, it was a documentary called Prom Night in Mississippi. And they still had, this was 2012, they still had segregated proms in 2012 for black and for
really?
white. Isn't that, it's not really meant to be that way, but it's just kind of how, the school districts were set up and blah, blah, blah. And there's lots of...
Yeah.
And there's history behind that, obviously. Between
and
poor black neighborhoods and poor white neighborhoods.
It is like part of the culture. And what happens is once something becomes such a part of the culture, it gets really hard to break. So if you look at Northern Ireland, Northern Ireland still has violence. It's not as bad as it was. But you still have Catholics and Protestants fighting each other. Well, what they discovered is that they would have like a Christian monument and they'd have a Protestant monument over here. Well, they'd both be getting vandalized by the other groups.
Right.
So what they eventually did is they made a combined monument that brought everyone together. So instead of mourning separately, you're mourning together. And they've seen a significant decrease in vandalization.
Interesting.
So once people start interacting with each other, I mean, there's a great video out right now of a black man who has made it his life purpose to go and befriend people who are members of the KKK. And once he actually gets to know them and talks to them, they realize that they've made a mistake. So it's really just a matter of education and engagement and being present in the community.
That's really interesting. Yeah, like it's really good.
Yeah, I guess
Sorry, I
it's
didn't mean to
interesting.
bring your podcast.
No, it's good. It's good. It's interesting. And I think it's cool because you probably have a unique perspective with your background in conflict resolution about what's happening politically in the United States.
Yeah,
I'm sure. I guess a question I'm curious about is, and this is getting kind of more anthropology.
We're kind of getting to time too.
Yeah, so
About 5 minutes. I can stay until.
Are you sure?
Yes,
you
I'll be
good?
fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Is I guess when you looked at the conflicts in Ireland, do you see any parallels to what that's like in the United States today? What are some similarities? What are some differences? What are some things that you've noticed, like in research, like when you were getting your degree, that you're seeing now?
So there was a lot of segregation between the Catholics and the Protestants, and there still is. You have Catholic schools, you have Protestant schools, and there's very little segregation there. Or there's very little integration there. Ireland is a little bit different in that something that I found that the people in the Republic of Ireland told me is that they really don't have a disdain for the British anymore, at least in the Republic, because they got to live their history and they got their victories. They got their independence. They fought their Civil War. They fought each other. It's past, right? We're not at that point yet.
Right.
The Civil War was only 240 years ago, 250 years ago. That's still pretty present history.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of work to do.
That's interesting
before we get there.
I think about this sometimes, how we have such a short-sighted view of history.
Right.
For you to say 250 years ago, that was our Civil War, that's not that long historically. And I think that's a good thing for us all to remember, is like history, for things to change often takes a long time.
You've got to remember the Catholics in Ireland have been fighting the British since the 1400s.
Right.
That's
like
Elizabeth,
when we
Henry
compare
VIII.
histories, we're just like babies. We're
babies, and we've still got a lot to learn. And
we still act like babies.
Yeah. Well, that's
because we're millennials.
I forgot. Sorry.
But I think that's all of humanity is, and this is part of the reason why I have the tattoo that I do. It's if you look at it closely, I'll give you a picture if you want it. It's the Sith symbol inside the Jedi symbol, and that's really my thought, that we can't have light without the darkness, but we have to be able to overcome the darkness.
Sure.
And that's what I did Geeks for Justice for, is because the night of the election I was in tears. I was bawling.
Yeah.
My husband's like trying to console me. I'm like, no, this is good. I have friends who are LGBTQIA. I have friends who are our mutual friend who is here illegally.
Yeah.
That I'm very worried for. And I'm like, I need to do something. And my thoughts immediately went to the geek community in Salt Lake is so amazing, and Utah so amazing. And I've been able to grow this little community, and it's getting bigger and bigger every day with events. We're just going to support the community, and we're going to bring out the light side.
Sure.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I quickly wanted to clarify that, and it's an interesting point to make, even if it's really beside the point. Our friend that's here legally, he came here, and I mentioned this once before. Yeah, as a child, like before he can remember. And I think when people talk about those illegals, like a lot of times they don't realize that they're not just talking about people who actively like committed a crime to get here. They're also talking about people who were children when their parents like basically ran here from some terrible situation and stuff. So
I actually have an article coming out on Wednesday on immigration, so keep an eye out for that on Geeks for Justice. It's on the Dream Worker Act. So.
Cool.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say mentioned. I think it's DACA also. Yeah. So and I was looking at because some people, there was one, I think it was a Humans in New York Post or something about that, about people who are with the Dream program and things like that. There's one young guy, he was probably 22, maybe my age, a little bit older, I don't know. But, he came over as a baby, and now there's this threat, obviously, of him going back. And a lot of, he's talking about, his worries and what the Dream has done for him and things like that. And I was reading the comments because, I like to hurt my soul a little bit.
You like to have people stab you in the heart.
I like to just, lose a little faith in humanity.
So bad.
And some people were like, well, why didn't he, try it if he knew? Why didn't he try and,
it's a lot harder to get citizenship
and it
than
takes
people realize.
Years and years and years. And he even mentioned he's trying to do this for 15 years. This is not like, oh, send in a picture of yourself and some information to the government, and they'll send you, like, a social security card. Like, it's not like that. And obviously there's lots of things that we need to do to reform this system and make it better. Obviously there's lots of things saying people are actually leaving the United States. They're not actually coming here because there are getting better opportunities elsewhere. So, I don't know. It's just kind of bizarre for me, like, why you wouldn't want people here who are honestly trying their hardest to do things,
Well, and it's funny because, like, there's a perspective of racism with it where there's that old trope that, like, those people are lazy, right? But also, like, now that comes with, oh, those people aren't even here legally, and then it becomes like they're just sapping our system, when in reality, like, the people that I know who have been here legally are working
their butts
so
off.
hard. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Anyway, so quickly, I think so we can say my friend Melissa, she asked a question about, is the current state of our country, she stated it as a statement, I'll bet the current state of our country,
I saw that comment.
Particularly like the tension of, I think is what she was referring to, probably is affecting you more than most.
It affected me negatively for the first few weeks after the election, and then now I've been able to channel that into more positive, like, okay, we need to be active, we need to be calling our congressmen and writing our congressmen, and I didn't say congressman, that just came out, Congress people and our representatives, and we just need to be active and be vigilant and say no.
So, and just to go back to something else you said, I have my cousin, another person that asked a question. She said, basically, she's frustrated with sort of people, this is going to be very political, like, people are constantly talking about how they're worried about the Trump presidency, and she's saying, like, how can people get past Trump being president? I'm tired of hearing all this fighting, right? So she's kind of like, I think her concern, the reason she was asking in this case was because, conflict resolution expert, how do we get through this conflict amongst the people of America?
I think that's actually a good question to ask.
And it's a very tough question for me to answer because I don't know the exact answer.
Right.
What I can say is my mom voted for Trump. That was a shock to my system.
Yeah.
But I love my mom, and I had to listen to her, and she told me why she voted for him, and I don't agree with her why she voted for him, but I listened.
Yeah.
And that's what we got to do. And then that's what we're not doing, is we're not listening to each other and being empathetic and compassionate.
Well, and it's the same thing you said about the Catholics and the Protestants.
Yeah.
As soon as they built a memorial monument for both,
They came together.
They came together. And so I think to answer that question in sort of a broad way is that we need to not so much put ourselves in these little bubbles of
I think we compartmentalize ourselves and others, and
we need to stop polarizing ourselves.
Yeah, and I think it's like, because I know a lot of people that vote for Trump, and I won't reveal who I voted for just because whatever, and this is sorry to get political, everyone.
It was Jill Stein. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, that Green Party's got that green money, all right?
Nice.
Nice, green money. Anyways, we're probably back to the comedy part of the portion. But, like, I know these people who voted for Trump or for Hillary personally, and they're not evil. They're not evil people who are bent on deporting everyone, or, maybe, like, shipping jobs off to China, or whatever, or, supporting a criminal, whatever you want to say.
I think a lot of it was about trying to fight the status quo.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the right way to fight the status quo, in my mind.
That's why you had, like, that's why there were people who would have voted for Bernie but voted instead for Trump because they
didn't want to vote for Hillary.
Fight.
Yeah.
Not because they didn't want to vote for Hillary. They made it out. The people that I know, and I think I might know one person who went from Bernie to Trump. But it seems like the argument there is not so much that Hillary's terrible, although this person I know makes it out to be that's the reason.
Yeah.
But I think it's more just about like this sort of people
that was
feel
the promise, like drain the swamp, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It isn't happening.
Well, people feel like our politics have become stagnant, and that whole system is kind of not working anymore. So we need somebody in there who's never had any part in it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Any part.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to.
I know. I'm sorry.
All I'll say
It's
is,
okay.
the Romans switched up their political party system every couple hundred years.
Usually with a murder.
Yeah, so
Wait, what?
murders, senators killing other people. Then we had like emperors.
Hey, at
and
least
then
we're
we
not
had,
doing that, right?
Oh, that's great. Maybe
I hope not.
we will turn into some sort of like Roman style, like
oh God, with gladiators,
Spartacus sort of.
Man, I gotta work on my cardio even harder.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna have to go into the gladiatorial arena.
Gladiatorial.
Anyway, Emperor Trump sent me to the gladiator arena. It wasn't fair though; they had guns. Anyway,
Yeah, there's no way. That's too quick of a fight, Steve. They wouldn't
that's
have
true.
guns.
You're right. No,
They'd sick a lion after you.
Yeah. They would sick Harambe after you.
you just. Woo! Okay.
Harambe, we love you.
We'll miss you, Harambe. Anyway, we'll have to end it. It's been a long podcast, and I'm real tired of it. I hate this podcast.
Sorry, I'm a talker.
No. It's really great.
Excuse
it's
me.
been really good. I didn't want us to have to cut it off, but things have to happen. So
Yeah,
cool.
have to
Thanks
happen.
everybody. This has been Plain Donuts.
This is Alicia
I'm your co-host Steve.
and our guest Sarah.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Bye.